Hello everyone and good Friday morning. Welcome to this exclusive KREM 2 Plus live stream of a weather weekend, not a weather impact alert weekend, but a weather weekend that's going to promise some big time changes for this particular October weekend. So I want to jump right into things as we go from nearly record highs this week. Remember, our temperatures were nearly 80 degrees yesterday to a weekend that will be so cold. Snow is in the forecast, at least for the mountains and some mountain passes at first, but it is going to be so much colder. It's going to be a slap to the face weather-wise. So make sure you are planning around that and around the weather for this weekend. And just so you know, it's going to be nothing like what we've just had during the work week, unfortunately. I think our 70-degree days are done. This is the storm system that I'm watching. It's gotten so much bigger in the last 3 days here. This huge low pressure center, which originated from the polar regions of the northern hemisphere, has found a parking spot just off of the PNW coast. And in the last 3 days, really since this Tuesday, it's done nothing but sit and spin here and just gather some moisture across the Pacific Ocean and contain it within those cold walls of the colder air mass here. And that is what's about to slide through the region heading into this weekend. So again, at a baseline, our 70-degree weather is done. It's over. It's going to be 50s and 40s for high temperatures both days this weekend. So as we see things right now, there may be a few slim rain chances today, Friday, before we unlock that colder weather as the cold front slides through later on for this evening. So let's take a brief tour of our satellite and radar. Current time is about 11:15 a.m. on this Friday morning. There's a little boundary that has been passing the region. It's actually lifting from south to north, still over Bonners Ferry, where there's a few brief showers right over Boundary County. Otherwise, it looks plenty dry even across northern Washington. A few sprinkles, a few light showers have been noted along the way. Not enough to really get the ground wet here. Very light stuff and just getting spit out of some of the cloud cover overhead. Meanwhile, in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene right now, skies have actually cleared up a little bit. Actually looks quite a bit sunnier over the Palouse, especially on the Idaho side of the state line. So anywhere along Highway 95 actually looks pretty sunny for now, but obviously the clouds are well off to the west. Speaking of the west side, not only is it cloudy, but there have been a few scattered showers along the I-5 corridor. At the moment, I actually have not analyzed a cold front on the map because it's really hard to see exactly where it is. It's somewhere in the Cascades here. It's kind of getting lost in the mountain shuffle, if you will. But you can definitely tell that there is not only more cloud cover, more rainfall, but cooler weather on this side of the state versus over central and eastern Washington. As we show you the big picture, it's kind of more accurately it would be more accurate to show that the cold weather is really contained within the bounds of the jet stream. And this jet stream has been cut off. This is what we call a cutoff low pressure. Basically, as it drifted from north to south and found this parking spot, the reason why it sat and span there for the last 3 days is because it had no momentum in the first place. The jet stream quite literally is just following that counterclockwise flow and offering no movement of the storm system. To its benefit, it gained strength in the last 3 days because of this. Basically, anywhere inside where this curl of the jet stream is, that would be the cold side of the storm system. And of course, Spokane is just on the outside, which is why our temperatures will still be in the 70s today. We don't see that cool off until tomorrow. Basically, this whole system at once is going to swing from west to east across the region, even though the showers, again, following that jet stream and following that wind path, are moving from south to north. Here are the temperatures today. There's that big difference. Again, that cold front somewhere along the Cascades right now, where the cold side of that line, upper 50s for Seattle and the Puget Sound. Meanwhile, one more warm day for the inland northwest, low to mid 70s, even with that cloud cover. Funny enough, if it were a perfectly sunny day, we probably would be very close to what we had yesterday, which was upper 70s and near 80 degrees. But not like that today, definitely not this weekend. It is not just going to get cold at the ground. This is just thoroughly cold all through the atmosphere. We're talking every layer of the atmosphere is colder than what we've been experiencing. It gets to the point where snow has found its way into the forecast. This has been one of the funniest things to be able to forecast for, is to tell you that 80 degrees and snow is in the same sentence. This is basically 2.5 days apart. Yesterday's near record-breaking heat, Saturday night and Sunday's snow chance, mainly for the mountains though. These are winter storm watches, by the way, mostly for western Montana. So in the mountain ranges that are on the outside of areas like Missoula, Kalispell, Butte, even Glacier National Park is part of that winter storm watch. Lookout Pass is technically in that watch, especially on the Montana side of the state line, but it is at an elevation that matters. The elevations we're looking at are 4,000 feet and above. Anywhere above that line, it's snow. Anywhere below that line still stays as rain. I'll even show that to you this way. This was a map or a graphic that I created myself. I'm actually quite proud of it. Very simple with the mountain shapes and our low-lying elevations, but these are all the reference points for the inland Northwest. So here's Washington, downtown Spokane, 1,843 feet. That's right at the river that runs through the middle of town, but the airport is about 500 feet higher in elevation. That's going to be important throughout the winter time. There are a lot of cases where it could be snowing at the airport and raining in downtown. Sometimes vice versa as well. So that 500-foot elevation difference makes a world of difference when it comes to snow forecasting. In the case for this weekend, it's not quite that close. So let's drop the snow line down. I'm forecasting the snow line at about 4,000 feet. So of course, all of our tall mountain peaks, like Schweitzer Mountain at 6,400 feet, Mount Spokane at 5,887, and 49 degrees north at almost 5,800 feet as well, will all pick up snow on the mountain peaks and within a couple thousand feet of those peaks. So that will be the sign of the seasons changing, that first fresh mountain snowfall. Meanwhile, on the Idaho side of the state line, Coeur d'Alene, 2,150 feet of elevation. Again, still well too low to get any snow out of this weekend. But now we have mountain passes to look at, and that's our halfway point between the tall mountain peaks and where our cities lie well down below. 4th of July Pass is just over 3,000 feet of elevation, so not quite high enough to warrant a snow forecast for this weekend, but Lookout Pass is. So Lookout Pass is just above 4,700 feet of elevation. Like I said, the snow line, 4,000 feet. That means if you are going over Lookout Pass, especially on Sunday, you very well might run into your first snowfall of the season. That's without even going to those mountain peaks. So those are the elevation lines. I know I spent a bit of time on that particular map. Again, I think it showcases a great cross-section and an example of the inland Northwest and where we lie elevation-wise. I'll be sure to use that map throughout the winter time, but this was the first good case to use it in the fall when we get this first big cool down for the weekend. Now let's look at rain chances and what this will look like for the next 3 days. We'll use our future tracker, which is our computer model simulation. This is about 11 o'clock tonight. Here is the cold front just working into central and eastern Washington at that time. Notice how there's not a whole lot of rain just yet. Kind of like this morning, there's not a lot to offer. Funny enough, I thought the rain chances didn't really look all that impressive, especially for these first 2 days. Sunday could be a different story. That was kind of the biggest update in the forecast from yesterday to today. So if we're going to see rain, it's probably very late at night, about 11 o'clock at night, and then afterwards. Here's 4 in the morning on Saturday. Now in that cold front, again, that leading edge, that curl, the jet stream right on top of the inland Northwest, this is where we start to see our rain chances increase at least a little bit. For most of us, 4 a.m. is probably while we're sleeping. So this is happening basically as we're waking up. You might notice some damp ground or some wet grass in the morning, but probably to very little effect. It's just the cold front coming through, and then that's all she wrote temperature-wise, and you'll see the temperature difference in a moment here. But we'll continue with our rain forecasting. This is now 3 in the afternoon on Saturday. Not much. Again, spotty showers, a little bit over the mountains here. This didn't look like too much to look at. So Friday and Saturday's rain chances, they're there, but they're not all that impressive. We might just barely get a moment of some wet ground, but nothing too impressive here. Sunday's a different story. So now that that cold weather has fully worked its way into the Pacific Northwest, and that low pressure center, the actual core of the storm, is almost going to be right over central Washington on Sunday. And that gives us more than enough moisture to work with. Remember, the storm is gathering all that moisture off of the Pacific Ocean right now, and it's been doing that for the last 3 days. Now it's going to deposit that moisture in the form of rain and mountain snow, mainly on Sunday for us. So this is 11 a.m. Looks like that rain just starting across the region, but watch how it doesn't quit. Unlike these scattered showers, just rains and rains and rains. This is now 5 p.m. Did you notice how this didn't change at all? That would be 6 hours of steady rainfall and a cold rainfall at that. Also, do notice our model does a great job at finding these higher elevation spots and saying, hey, that's above the snow line. Basically, where all these little pink lines are is the exact, that 4,000 foot elevation line. And it finds the exact slope of those mountains and says, that's kind of that rain snow split. These higher elevation streaks, those are in snow. Everything else that's lower elevations, even like Chewelah, Colville, Kettle Falls, still plotted in green. It's nice that the resolution of our computer modeling fine enough to find all these little valleys and mountain ridges. But to reiterate the point here, it's just going to rain all day on Sunday. And if it does, with this cold air mass on top of us, this is going to be miserable. I would not want to be outside for more than 5 minutes in this. This is going to feel so cold. Remember, it's because it was almost 80 degrees yesterday, and it's going to be less than 50 degrees on Sunday. That change is so significant, it feels like a slap in the face. This feels like fall says, okay, you had your fun, but this is the real fall weather that we should come to expect by this point of the season. We've just been spoiled with how warm or almost hot it's been between September and this first stage of October. So this is going to be some whiplash. This will feel like a slap in the face because the temperature change between nearly 80 degrees yesterday and still mid-70s today to mid-50s tomorrow and upper 40s. Again, high temperatures, upper 40s. Funny enough, because of the cloud cover and the rain, the low temperatures are also in the 40s. So these temperatures are only going to be steady and flatlined all day on Sunday. This is not going to be fun to be outside. This is almost like put the heat on because we are at that stage of the fall season. Here's what it looks like across the map. Even our computer model, which I do admit kind of helps me generate some of these numbers, especially to the north, has 45 as that common value for Deer Park, Newport, Sandpoint, Coeur d'Alene, Pullman at 46. So our modeling actually was around 47, 48, and I bumped it up to 49. That is how cold it potentially could be, like mid-40s all day long with rainfall. So this is an indoor weekend. If you were hoping for any leftover summer weather, you got to take advantage of it today because it is all gone by tomorrow. We actually are likely just going to stay in the 50s all of next week. So this is the storm system that takes us into now the second half of the fall season. And I know it probably felt like fall just began 2 or 3 weeks ago. High temperatures will only be in the 50s or 40s this weekend with that rainfall. More rain on Sunday, just a few scattered showers on Saturday. So again, one more detailed look at your weekend forecast with this huge cold fall storm system barreling through the Pacific Northwest, offering by far our coldest weather of the season, but also probably the most rain and definitely our first mountain snow for the inland Northwest. It is that season. It is now mid-October. Make sure you stay warm, stay safe, stay aware of our weather conditions as they will change in a big way this weekend. I'm Meteorologist Thomas Patrick. Thanks for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus. You can always follow me on social media at Thomas Patrick WX, and I will see you in about a half an hour at KREM 2 News at noon. Have a great Friday, everyone, and stay warm this weekend.